Can you believe it? In a distant land nestled amidst vast sun-scorched deserts and ancient wave-kissed coastlines, exist wonders and paradoxes that challenge everything we thought we knew. Imagine a place where centuries-old skyscrapers soaring towards the heavens are constructed not of steel and glass but entirely of sun-dried mud. Picture trees that, when scarred, bleed a crimson resin as rich and dark as dragon's blood, their bizarre umbrella-like canopies dotting an otherworldly landscape. Envision a society where the chewing of certain leaves, a plant imbued with stimulating effects, is not merely a habit but a deeply ingrained social ritual, a daily cornerstone of communal life and commerce. Yet, this very land, the fabled realm of the legendary Queen of Sheba, whose wisdom and wealth echoed through antiquity, and the undisputed birthplace of the globally cherished mocha coffee, whose aromatic beans once monopolized world trade, is now ensnared in a devastating vortex of extreme poverty and relentless, multifaceted conflict. This is Yemen, a nation immeasurably rich in cultural tapestry, historical depth and natural uniqueness, yet simultaneously fraught with unimaginable trials and profound human suffering. Its enigmas, born from millennia of civilization, isolation and resilience, are about to unfold. Prepare to be captivated, to have your perceptions shifted, as we embark on a journey into the heart of a land of stark beauty and poignant contradictions. Imagine a city rising organically from the desert floor, its silhouette puncturing the clear, arid sky, not with the gleam of modern steel and glass, but with the warm, earthen tones of sun-baked mud. This is Shibam, an ancient, fortified city in Yemen's remote Wadi Hadhramaut, a testament to human ingenuity and a stunning example of early urban planning. Its most striking feature is its dense cluster of high-rise residential buildings, some dating back to the 16th century, though the city itself is far older, with roots stretching back nearly 2 millennia. These remarkable structures, often reaching heights of 5 to 11 stories, are constructed almost entirely from mud bricks, a locally sourced and sustainable material perfectly suited to the region's climate. Each building houses a single family, with the ground floor typically used for storing grain and livestock, windowless to deter intruders, while the upper floors contain living quarters, often with beautifully carved wooden window frames and intricately decorated reception rooms. The sheer verticality of Shibam is what earned it the evocative moniker Manhattan of the desert. This vertical construction was not an aesthetic choice but a pragmatic one. Surrounded by a vast flood-prone wadi or seasonal riverbed and historically vulnerable to Bedouin raids, Shibam's inhabitants built upwards to maximize the use of limited defensible space within the city's protective walls. The narrow, shaded streets between these towering mud brick edifices create a cooling effect, offering respite from the harsh desert sun. The city's layout is a labyrinth of alleys and small squares, fostering a strong sense of community. The construction techniques employed in Shibam are a marvel of traditional engineering. Mud, mixed with hay and dung, is formed into bricks and left to dry in the sun. These bricks are then used to build thick, load-bearing walls. The outer surfaces are regularly coated with a fresh layer of mud plaster to protect them from wind and rain erosion, a maintenance ritual that has kept these structures standing for centuries. The upper floors often feature projecting wooden window boxes known as mashrabiyas, which provide ventilation and allow women to observe the street below without being seen. In 1982, Shibam's unique architectural heritage and its significance as an outstanding example of traditional human settlement and land use were recognized by UNESCO, which inscribed it as a World Heritage Site. The citation noted its remarkable dense ensemble of tall mud brick tower houses, a unique example of traditional urban planning based on the principle of vertical construction. However, this ancient marvel faces numerous threats. The devastating floods that periodically sweep through Wadi Hadhramaut can undermine the foundations of these mud structures. Furthermore, the ongoing conflict in Yemen has led to neglect, lack of resources for maintenance, and tragically, direct damage from an Al-Qaeda attack in 2009 and subsequent security concerns. The traditional knowledge of mud brick construction and repair is also at risk of being lost as younger generations migrate or adopt modern building practices. Despite these challenges, Shibam stands as a powerful symbol of Yemeni resilience and architectural genius, a living museum that continues to be inhabited, its ancient rhythms echoing through its towering mud brick canyons. Visiting Shibam is like stepping back in time, offering a profound glimpse into a way of life that has endured for centuries against the odds. Far off the coast of mainland Yemen, adrift in the cerulean waters of the Indian Ocean, lies the Socotra Archipelago, a place so unique, so isolated, that it often feels like another planet. And perhaps no single feature of this extraordinary island group is more iconic or more emblematic of its otherworldly nature than the dragon's blood tree, Dracaena cinnabari. With its bizarre, densely packed, upturned crown that resembles a giant inside-out umbrella or a colossal mushroom, this tree presents a truly surreal spectacle against the stark, arid landscapes of Socotra. The tree earns its dramatic name from the deep crimson resin it exudes when its bark is cut or damaged. This blood-red sap, known for millennia as dragon's blood, is not merely a curiosity but has been a prized commodity since ancient times. It was highly valued by the Greeks, Romans and Arabs for its purported medicinal properties, used as a cure-all for ailments ranging from dysentery and diarrhea, to fevers, ulcers and skin diseases. It was also employed as a vibrant red dye for fabrics, pottery, and even as a component in varnish for violins, giving them their rich hue, as well as in alchemy and ritual magic. The resin dries into a hard, brittle substance that can be ground into a powder. Local legends abound regarding the origin of the dragon's blood tree. One popular tale recounts a fierce battle between a dragon and an elephant. The elephant, mortally wounded, eventually crushed the dragon, and their mingled blood seeped into the earth, from which the first dragon's blood trees sprang forth. Another story tells of two brothers who fought to the death, their spilled blood giving rise to these enigmatic trees. These myths underscore the deep cultural significance of the tree to the Socotri people, who have lived in harmony with their unique environment for centuries. The dragon's blood tree is perfectly adapted to its harsh, dry environment. Its peculiar shape is not accidental. The dense, umbrella-like canopy provides shade, reducing evaporation from the soil beneath and protecting its own seedlings. The waxy coating on its upward-pointing, sword-like leaves helps to minimize water loss and channels dew and light rain towards the central trunk and root system. These trees are slow-growing and can live for hundreds of years, some specimens estimated to be over 500 years old. They typically grow on rocky slopes and plateaus, often in dramatic isolated groves. However, like much of Socotra's unique biodiversity, the dragon's blood tree faces an uncertain future. Climate change is a significant threat, with increasing aridity and more intense cyclones impacting the island. Overgrazing by goats, introduced to the island, prevents young seedlings from establishing themselves, leading to an aging tree population with little regeneration. The future of this botanical marvel, a keystone species in Socotra's ecosystem and a symbol of Yemen's natural heritage, depends heavily on effective conservation efforts and a sustainable approach to the island's development. Its striking appearance and mythical associations continue to fascinate botanists, travelers, and storytellers alike, a living relic from a land that time seems to have forgotten. One of the most pervasive and visually striking social traditions in Yemen, one that permeates nearly every facet of daily life, is the chewing of khat, also spelled kot or cat, with the botanical name Catha edulis. It is estimated that a significant majority of adult Yemeni men, up to 90% in some reports, and a considerable percentage of women, around 50%, regularly indulge in this practice. They often do so for several hours each day, particularly in the afternoons. The fresh, tender leaves and twigs of the khat shrub, an evergreen plant cultivated extensively throughout the highlands of Yemen and the Horn of Africa, are meticulously plucked. Then they are slowly chewed to form a quid or ball, which is tucked into the side of the cheek and gradually masticated to release its active compounds. Khat contains psychoactive alkaloids, primarily cathinone and to a lesser extent caffeine, which have stimulant effects similar to, but generally milder than, amphetamines. Users typically report feelings of mild euphoria, increased alertness, talkativeness, excitement, and a suppression of appetite and fatigue. For many Yemenis, chewing khat is not merely a means of achieving a stimulant effect, but is a deeply ingrained cultural institution. It acts as a social lubricant that facilitates conversation, strengthens bonds, and underpins community life. Afternoon khat sessions, often held in a mafraj, a special reception room in a Yemeni house usually on the top floor with wide windows, are common, particularly among men. These gatherings can last for hours, with participants engaging in discussions about politics, business, local affairs, or simply socializing, all while leisurely chewing their khat and sipping sweet tea or water. The practice of khat chewing is believed to date back thousands of years in the region, though its widespread popularization in Yemen is thought to have occurred over the last few centuries. Historically, it was associated with Sufi mystics, who reportedly used it to stay awake during long religious rituals and meditations. Today, its use transcends social strata, though the quality and quantity of khat consumed can be an indicator of social status and wealth. Business deals are often negotiated and sealed during khat sessions, disputes may be mediated, and important decisions are frequently made under its influence, as it is believed to enhance clarity of thought and eloquence. However, the pervasive nature of khat culture is not without significant downsides. Economically, khat cultivation consumes a vast amount of Yemen's scarce agricultural land and water resources that could otherwise be used for food crops in a country teetering on the brink of famine. It is a thirsty crop, and its cultivation has exacerbated water shortages in many areas. Households can spend a substantial portion of their income on daily khat supplies, diverting funds from other essential needs like food, education, and healthcare. From a health perspective, while khat is not generally considered as severely addictive or harmful as some other stimulants, chronic heavy use can lead to a range of problems. These include insomnia, anxiety, depression, once the stimulant effect wears off, gastritis, constipation, dental problems like gum disease and tooth decay, from the acidity and sugar often consumed with it, and potentially increased risk of heart attack and other cardiovascular issues. Its legal status is complex globally. While legal and widely accepted in Yemen and some neighboring countries, it is classified as a controlled substance in many Western nations. Despite these concerns, khat remains an undeniable and central pillar of Yemeni culture, a daily ritual that shapes social interactions, economic activities, and even the physical landscape of the country. To understand Yemen is, in part, to understand the profound and multifaceted role that khat plays in the lives of its people. Yemen, a land once celebrated in antiquity as Arabia, Felix, Fortunate, or Happy Arabia. Due to its fertile lands relative to the rest of the peninsula and its lucrative trade in frankincense, myrrh, and spices, today presents a devastatingly different picture. Despite possessing modest oil reserves and a rich cultural heritage that speaks of past glories, contemporary Yemen is tragically one of the poorest countries in the Arab world, and consistently ranks among the most impoverished and food-insecure nations globally. The daily reality for a vast majority of its approximately 33 million people is one of profound hardship, a relentless struggle for survival against a backdrop of protracted and devastating conflict. The statistics paint a grim tableau. Even before the current escalation of conflict that began in 2014 to 2015, Yemen was grappling with chronic poverty, high unemployment, and widespread malnutrition. The ongoing war, a complex multi-sided conflict involving Houthi rebels, the internationally recognized government, southern separatists, and various regional and international actors, has catastrophically exacerbated this pre-existing vulnerability, pushing the country to the brink of total collapse. Millions of Yemenis have been displaced from their homes, living in makeshift camps or crowded, unsanitary conditions. The nation's infrastructure, roads, hospitals, schools, water and sanitation systems has been decimated by airstrikes, shelling, and neglect. The economic consequences have been catastrophic. Livelihoods have been destroyed, businesses have shuttered, and the Yemeni rial has plummeted in value, making essential imported goods, including food and medicine, prohibitively expensive for ordinary citizens. It is not uncommon for families to survive on less than $2 a day, and stories of individuals earning as little as $30 a month, as mentioned in some reports, highlight the desperate economic straits. Access to clean water is a daily challenge for millions, and preventable diseases like cholera have spread with alarming speed due to the breakdown of public health systems. Malnutrition, particularly among children, has reached epidemic proportions, with harrowing images of emaciated infants serving as a stark reminder of the human cost of the conflict. The United Nations has repeatedly described the situation in Yemen as the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The presence of oil reserves adds another layer of tragedy to Yemen's predicament. While not as vast as those of its Gulf neighbors, Yemen's oil could, in theory, provide a significant source of revenue for development and public services. However, production has been severely disrupted by the conflict, and control over oil-rich regions and resources has itself become a point of contention and a driver of violence. Corruption, historically a significant problem, has further diverted potential wealth away from the populace. The label of most dangerous country is not an exaggeration for many parts of Yemen. Beyond the direct dangers of warfare, the breakdown of law and order has led to increased criminality, and the proliferation of armed groups makes travel and daily life precarious. International SOS travel risk maps frequently categorize Yemen as carrying an extreme travel security risk. Yet amidst this overwhelming adversity, the resilience and spirit of the Yemeni people endure. Communities support each other, sharing what little they have. Aid organizations, both local and international, work tirelessly under immensely challenging conditions to provide life-saving assistance. The stark contrast between Yemen's rich historical legacy, its vibrant culture, and its current state of profound suffering is a poignant reminder of how conflict and poverty can ravage a nation, underscoring the urgent need for a sustainable peace and a comprehensive recovery effort. The dream of Arabia Felix seems a distant, almost cruel memory, yet the hope for a better future, however faint, flickers on in the hearts of its people. When you savor a rich, chocolate-tinged coffee beverage commonly known as a mocha, you are, perhaps unknowingly, paying homage to an ancient port city on the Red Sea coast of Yemen al-Mocha, also spelled mocha or mocha. For it was from this bustling maritime hub that coffee, as we know it, first embarked on its journey to conquer the palates of the world. Yemen holds a pivotal, pioneering place in the history of coffee cultivation and consumption, and al-Mocha was the epicenter of this aromatic revolution, from roughly the 15th to the early 18th centuries. While the coffee plant, Coffea arabica, is believed to have originated in the highlands of Ethiopia, it was across the Red Sea in Yemen that it was first systematically cultivated for its beans. Legend often attributes the discovery of coffee's stimulating properties to an Ethiopian goatherd named Kaldi, who noticed his goats becoming unusually energetic after eating the red cherries of a particular shrub. However, it was Yemeni Sufi mystics who are widely credited with popularizing coffee as a beverage. They reportedly drank it to stay awake and alert during long nights of prayer and religious ceremonies in the 15th century. From these religious circles, coffee drinking gradually spread to the wider Yemeni population and then beyond. The port of al-Mocha became the exclusive exporter of Yemeni coffee for nearly 200 years. The coffee itself was not typically grown in al-Mocha, which is a coastal city, but rather in the fertile, terraced mountain slopes of Yemen's interior highlands, in regions like Bani Matar. The beans, often sun-dried with the cherry still intact, a method known as the natural process, were then transported to al-Mocha for shipment. The coffee exported from al-Mocha gained a legendary reputation for its unique and highly prized flavor profile, often described as having distinct earthy, winey, and notably chocolatey notes. It is this inherent chocolatey characteristic of the original Yemeni beans that likely, over time, led to the modern association of mocha with the combination of coffee and chocolate, even though the original al-Mocha coffee contained no added chocolate. For centuries, Yemen jealously guarded its coffee monopoly. To prevent cultivation elsewhere, the export of fertile beans or live plants was strictly forbidden. Only roasted or boiled beans, incapable of germination, were allowed to leave al-Mocha. However, as coffee's popularity soared across the Middle East, where coffeehouses, or kavehkhane, became vibrant social and intellectual centers, and then into Europe, the desire to break this monopoly intensified. Eventually, in the late 17th and early 18th centuries, Dutch traders managed to smuggle out some coffee plants, establishing plantations in their colonies in Java and elsewhere. This marked the beginning of the end for al-Mocha's dominance, as coffee cultivation spread to other parts of the world. Today, while al-Mocha is a shadow of its former bustling self, and Yemeni coffee production is significantly smaller than that of global giants like Brazil or Vietnam, and faces challenges from cot cultivation, conflict, and climate change, the legacy of Mocha coffee endures. Efforts are underway to revive and promote Yemen's specialty coffee industry, highlighting its unique heirloom varietals and traditional processing methods. Each cup of true Yemeni coffee is a taste of history, a connection to the ancient port that first introduced this magical brew to an eager world, forever changing global drinking habits. Woven into the rich tapestry of Yemen's ancient history and folklore is the captivating figure of the Queen of Sheba, a monarch of immense wealth, wisdom and beauty whose fame resonated throughout the ancient Near East. While Ethiopia also lays a strong claim to her as their Queen Makeda in Yemen, she is known primarily as Bilqis, and her story is deeply embedded in the national consciousness, a potent symbol of a golden age of power and prosperity. Her legend is prominently featured in religious texts, including the Hebrew Bible, the Christian New Testament, and the Islamic Quran, each offering slightly different perspectives on her reign and her celebrated encounter with King Solomon of Israel. According to these accounts, the Queen of Sheba ruled over the ancient kingdom of Saba, or Sheba, which is widely believed to have been centered in present-day Yemen, though its influence may have extended across the Red Sea to parts of modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea. The Sabaean Kingdom flourished from around the first millennium BCE, its wealth largely derived from its strategic control over the lucrative trade routes for frankincense, myrrh, and other valuable spices and aromatics produced in southern Arabia. These commodities were highly prized in the temples and courts of Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome. The most famous episode in the Queen of Sheba's story is her grand journey to Jerusalem to visit King Solomon, renowned for his unparalleled wisdom. Intrigued by tales of his sagacity, she traveled with a magnificent caravan laden with gold, precious stones, and copious amounts of spices, intending to test him with hard questions and riddles. The biblical account in 1 Kings 10 and 2 Chronicles 9 details Solomon's ability to answer all her queries, impressing her profoundly. She, in turn, bestowed lavish gifts upon him, acknowledging his wisdom and the prosperity of his kingdom. The Quranic version in Surah An-Naml 27 verses 15 to 44 adds further details, including Solomon's communication with a hoopoe bird that informed him of Queen Bilqis and her sun-worshipping people, and her eventual submission to God after witnessing Solomon's power and wisdom. Archaeological evidence in Yemen lends credence to the existence of a powerful and sophisticated Sabaean civilization during the period associated with the Queen of Sheba. Impressive ruins, such as the Great Marib Dam, an engineering marvel of the ancient world, numerous temples like the Awam Temple, also known as Maram Bilqis or Sanctuary of Bilqis near Marib, and inscriptions in the ancient South Arabian script, all point to a flourishing kingdom with advanced agricultural techniques, complex religious practices, and extensive trade networks. While no definitive archaeological proof has irrefutably identified Queen Bilqis as a specific historical individual or pinpointed her tomb, the Maram Bilqis temple complex, dedicated to the Sabaean moon god Al-Makka, is popularly associated with her. The Ethiopian tradition, primarily chronicled in the Kibra Nagast or Glory of Kings, presents a different lineage, naming her Makeda and detailing a romantic involvement with King Solomon, resulting in a son, Menelik I, who is considered the founder of Ethiopia's Solomonic dynasty, and, according to legend, brought the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem to Ethiopia. Regardless of the precise historical veracity or the differing narratives, the Queen of Sheba remains an iconic and inspirational figure. She embodies female power, intellectual prowess, and regal splendor. Her legend has captivated artists, writers, and composers for centuries, and for Yemenis, she is a cherished link to a magnificent past, a time when their land was a beacon of civilization and a vital crossroads of ancient global trade. The quest to uncover more about her life and her kingdom continues to fuel archaeological exploration and popular imagination, keeping the echoes of her royal presence alive in the modern world. Yemen's capital, Sana'a, is not merely a city, it is a breathtaking, living testament to millennia of continuous human habitation, a place where history breathes in the very stones of its ancient edifices and whispers through its labyrinthine alleyways. Nestled in a high mountain valley over 2,200 meters above sea level, Sana'a is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, with a history that stretches back at least 2,500 years, and according to local legend, much further. Tradition holds that the city was founded by Shem, one of the three sons of the biblical patriarch Noah, after the Great Flood, who supposedly found the site so ideal that he established Madinat Sam, the city of Shem, which evolved into Sana'a, meaning well-fortified place. The jewel in Sana'a's crown is undoubtedly its old city, Al-Madina Al-Qadima, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1986. Stepping into this ancient quarter is like entering a dreamscape from the pages of 1001 Nights. It is an extraordinary architectural ensemble, characterized by its unique multi-story tower houses built of dark, burnt brick, and adorned with intricate geometric patterns of white gypsum plaster, known as kudad. These remarkable buildings, some rising to 7 or 8 stories, feature distinctive fanlights above their windows made of stained glass, camarilla, or thinly sliced alabaster, which create a soft, ethereal glow within the interiors during the day and project beautiful patterns outwards at night. The ground floors were traditionally used for shops, workshops, or storage, while the upper floors contained the family living quarters, with the highest room, the mafraj, reserved for social gatherings and cot chewing, offering panoramic views of the city. The old city of Sana'a is a densely packed maze of narrow streets and bustling souks, the most famous of which is Souk al-Mil, though it sells far more than just salt. Here, one can find a dazzling array of goods, spices, incense, coffee beans, traditional silver jewelry, textiles, pottery, and handicrafts. Interspersed throughout the old city are over 100 mosques, many dating back to the early centuries of Islam. The Great Mosque of Sana'a is one of the oldest in the Islamic world, believed to have been founded during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century CE. On the site of the pre-Islamic Gumdan Palace, itself a legendary skyscraper of antiquity. There are also numerous historic hammams which have long served as important social centers. Sana'a's history is rich and layered. It was an important center in pre-Islamic South Arabia, part of the Himyarite kingdom. With the advent of Islam, it became a significant Islamic city, and later the capital of Zaydi Shia imams, who ruled much of Yemen for over a millennium. It also experienced periods of Ottoman rule. This long and varied history is reflected in the city's architecture, its cultural traditions, and the diversity of its population. The UNESCO inscription recognizes the old city of Sana'a as an outstanding example of a traditional, homogeneous architectural ensemble which illustrates with exceptional qualities a characteristic type of Islamic city. However, this precious heritage is under severe threat. The ongoing conflict has resulted in tragic damage, with airstrikes directly hitting parts of the old city, causing loss of life and destruction of irreplaceable historic buildings. Decades of neglect, uncontrolled modern development on its peripheries, issues with sanitation and water management, and the collapse of traditional building maintenance practices also pose serious risks. International and local efforts are ongoing to document, conserve, and restore what can be saved. But the challenges are immense. Despite the hardships, the old city of Sana'a remains a vibrant inhabited urban center, its ancient rhythms persisting, a poignant symbol of Yemen's enduring cultural legacy, and the urgent need to protect it for future generations. The Socotra Archipelago, a remote cluster of 4 islands and 2 rocky islets in the Indian Ocean, some 240 kilometers east of the Horn of Africa and 380 kilometers south of the Arabian Peninsula, is a place of truly exceptional, almost surreal natural beauty and unparalleled biological diversity. Often dubbed the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, Socotra's long period of geological and biological isolation from mainland land masses, it is believed to have been part of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, has resulted in the evolution of a remarkably unique and highly endemic flora and fauna, making it a living laboratory of evolution and a site of global importance for biodiversity conservation. Recognizing its outstanding universal value, UNESCO declared the Socotra Archipelago a World Natural Heritage Site in 2008. The statistics are staggering. Approximately 37% of Socotra's 825 plant species, 90% of its reptile species, and 95% of its land snail species are endemic, meaning they are found nowhere else on Earth. This extraordinary level of endemism is what draws comparisons to the Galapagos Islands. The landscape of Socotra is incredibly varied, ranging from coastal plains and sandy dunes to limestone plateaus deeply incised by wadis or valleys and the rugged Hadhramaut Mountains which rise to over 1,500 meters. This diversity of habitat supports a wide array of specialized life forms. The island's flora is perhaps its most famous feature. Beyond the iconic dragon's blood tree or Dracaena cinnamomum, Socotra is home to a host of other bizarre and wonderful plants. These include the peculiar cucumber tree, or Dendrocytios socotranus, the only member of the cucumber family to grow in tree form with a swollen, bottle-like trunk. There's also the Socotran pomegranate, or Punica protopunica, a wild relative of the cultivated pomegranate, and various species of frankincense trees or Boswellia species, whose aromatic resin has been traded for millennia. The desert rose or bottle tree, Adenium obesum socotranum, with its grotesquely swollen base and vibrant pink flowers, is another striking endemic. Socotra's endemic fauna is equally fascinating, though perhaps less visually dramatic than its flora. The island is home to several endemic bird species, including the Socotra sunbird, Socotra starling, Socotra bunting, Socotra warbler, and Socotra cisticola. Its reptile diversity is particularly notable, with numerous unique species of geckos and skinks. While there are no native amphibians, the surrounding marine waters teem with life, including vibrant coral reefs and a rich diversity of fish and other marine organisms. The indigenous people of Socotra, numbering around 50,000, have their own unique culture and distinct Semitic language, Socotri, which is unrelated to modern Arabic and preserves ancient linguistic features. For centuries, they have lived a traditional lifestyle, primarily based on fishing, pastoralism, herding goats and cattle, and date palm cultivation, developing an intimate knowledge of their island's resources and its medicinal plants. However, this precious jewel of biodiversity faces increasing threats. Climate change is a major concern, with predictions of increased aridity and more frequent and intense cyclones, which can cause devastating damage to the island's ecosystems and infrastructure. The introduction of invasive species, both plants and animals, poses a risk to native species. Unsustainable development, including road construction and potential overexploitation of resources, could also degrade habitats. Furthermore, the political instability and conflict on mainland Yemen have implications for Socotra, affecting governance, conservation funding, and potentially opening the door to unregulated activities. Efforts are being made by international organizations in collaboration with local communities to conserve Socotra's unique heritage. These include initiatives for sustainable resource management, protected area establishment, biodiversity monitoring, and supporting traditional livelihoods that are compatible with conservation. The future of Socotra, this lost world of biological treasures, hinges on these efforts and a global commitment to protecting one of the planet's most irreplaceable natural wonders. Our captivating journey through the diverse and often paradoxical facets of Yemen has now officially drawn to a close. From the ancient mudbrick skyscrapers of Shibam piercing the desert sky to the otherworldly dragon's blood trees bleeding crimson on the isolated shores of Socotra, from the deeply ingrained social ritual of cot chewing to the sobering realities of extreme hardship in a nation ravaged by conflict, from the aromatic legacy of mocha coffee that once scented the trade winds to the regal echoes of the Queen of Sheba's legendary reign, And from the millennia-old living tapestry of Sana'a's old city to the breathtaking, unique biodiversity of Socotra, an evolutionary marvel, Yemen has revealed itself as a land of profound historical depth, astonishing natural beauty, vibrant cultural traditions, and immense human resilience. Yet, it is also a land bearing deep scars, a place where the weight of the present often threatens to overshadow the glories of the past. What has impressed you the most from this exploration? What image, story, or stark reality will linger in your thoughts? Feel free to share your reflections. We encourage you to support the ongoing journey of discovery and understanding by liking this exploration, subscribing for more content, and continuing to delve into the amazing, complex, and often challenging stories our world has to offer. Thank you for watching and for being with us on this profound voyage into the heart of Yemen.